Have you ever wondered why life often feels like a storm we cannot control? We plan every detail, we fight against circumstances, and yet, fate always finds its way. Imagine if, instead of resisting, you embraced every twist of destiny, even the painful ones, as necessary threads in your story. What if your greatest peace came not from changing your fate, but from loving it? This is the essence of Amor Fati, the Stoic art of loving destiny. You wake up with plans, yet the unexpected call changes your day. A career falls apart despite your effort. Illness, rejection, heartbreak. Life often gives us what we never asked for. In those moments, resistance feels natural, but it only deepens the suffering. The Stoics remind us, pain is real, but our interpretation defines its weight. To resist fate is to fight the entire universe. To embrace it is to stand in harmony with existence itself. The answer lies in an ancient Stoic principle, Amor Fati, to not just accept what happens, but to love it. Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and Nietzsche echoed the same truth. Life is not meant to be perfect, but meaningful. Every loss is a teacher, every failure a bridge, every obstacle an invitation to grow stronger. Amor Fati transforms suffering into strength, chaos into order, and randomness into purpose. In this video, you'll discover how embracing Amor Fati can transform your relationship with destiny. We'll explore the wisdom of the Stoics, real-life examples of resilience, and practical steps to turn acceptance into empowerment. By the end, you will see that fate is not your enemy. It is your greatest ally. Love your destiny, and it will love you back. The first principle of Amor Fati is simple yet powerful. Acceptance is strength. To accept does not mean to surrender in weakness. It means to stand unbroken in the face of life's storms. Epictetus taught that events themselves are neutral. It is our judgment that gives them power over us. By choosing acceptance, we choose clarity over chaos. Fate cannot be resisted, but it can be embraced. And in that embrace lies a hidden strength, the power to remain unshaken when others collapse. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "A blazing fire makes flame and brightness out of everything that is thrown into it." This is the essence of acceptance, not resignation, but transformation. Hardship becomes fuel. Suffering becomes wisdom. What others see as ruin, the Stoic sees as raw material for greatness. Amor Fati does not ask us to tolerate fate. It asks us to love it, to burn even misfortune into strength. The question is not whether life will test you. It always will. But whether you can turn the test into fire that refines your soul. Consider the life of Admiral James Stockdale, a modern Stoic who survived years as a prisoner of war. He had no control over his fate, beatings, isolation, and uncertainty. But instead of despair, he accepted his suffering as part of his destiny. He later said, "I never lost faith in the end of the story." His acceptance gave him strength that defiance could not. Like the Stoics of old, Stockdale's story reminds us, when life robs us of freedom, acceptance is the last freedom it cannot take away. In daily life, acceptance is not passive, it is practical power. When you accept traffic, delays, or setbacks, your mind is freed from anger. When you accept heartbreak, you allow space for healing. When you accept rejection, you turn failure into wisdom. Imagine loving every twist of your story as necessary, even the painful ones. This mindset transforms burdens into teachers. The one who accepts fate is not broken by it. They are shaped into someone stronger, calmer, and freer. The second principle of Amor Fati is this: hardship carries meaning. The Stoics never saw suffering as a curse, but as a teacher. To reject pain is to reject growth, for the fire that burns also forges. Fate often delivers trials not to destroy us, but to reveal us, to strip away illusions and show the strength we did not know we had. Meaning is not found in avoiding pain, but in walking through it with eyes open. Epictetus once said, "Difficulties show a man what he is." In hardship, our masks fall away, and our true character is revealed. Amor Fati urges us not to curse these difficulties, but to thank them, for they refine us in ways comfort never could. Imagine if every setback became a mirror, reflecting not your weakness, but your hidden capacity for strength. That is the Stoic vision, to see every trial as purposeful, every wound as an opening for wisdom. Consider Viktor Frankl, who survived the horrors of the concentration camps. He wrote that those who could find meaning, even in suffering, were the ones who endured. Stripped of freedom, possessions, even dignity, what remained was the freedom to choose one's attitude. This is Amor Fati in action, transforming agony into purpose, despair into resilience. His story proves that meaning is not destroyed by pain, it is discovered through it. In our daily lives, hardship may take simpler forms: losing a job, facing illness, being rejected in love. Amor Fati invites us to see these not as punishments, but as opportunities to build endurance, wisdom, and gratitude. Instead of asking, "Why me?" ask, "What can this teach me?" With this mindset, pain ceases to be an enemy. It becomes a silent ally, shaping you into someone stronger, wiser, and more resilient. The third principle of Amor Fati teaches us: obstacles are not barriers, they are fuel. The Stoics believe that every challenge contains the seed of progress. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. To love your fate means to welcome resistance as part of your training. Every obstacle you face is not blocking the path, it is the path. Marcus Aurelius declared, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." This is not just resilience, it is transformation. Obstacles do not stop us, they sculpt us. A fallen tree does not end the river's journey. It redirects the current into new strength. In the same way, each obstacle redirects us toward growth we would never have found otherwise. Think of Thomas Edison. After thousands of failed attempts to create the light bulb, he famously said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." Each obstacle became knowledge, each setback progress. Amor Fati teaches us to see frustration as fuel, not failure. Like Edison, we can transform setbacks into sparks that light the way forward. Obstacles are not interruptions of destiny. They are destiny itself, shaping the story of human triumph. In modern life, obstacles arrive as rejections, failed projects, broken relationships, or unexpected crises. Instead of saying, "This ruins me," Amor Fati invites us to say, "This builds me." Each setback is raw material, like iron meeting fire. The stronger the resistance, the sharper the blade. If you can see obstacles as your allies, then nothing in life is wasted. Everything becomes part of your growth. The fourth principle of Amor Fati is learning to love what you cannot control. Life is filled with events outside your grasp: death, weather, chance, the actions of others. To fight these is to waste your strength. To embrace them is to gain peace. The Stoics remind us, control is an illusion. Real power comes not from bending fate, but from aligning with it. What you cannot change, you can still love. Epictetus wrote, "Don't demand that things happen as you wish, but wish them to happen as they do happen, and your life will go smoothly." This is the heart of Amor Fati. Peace is not found in bending the universe to your will. It is found in bending your will to the universe. When we stop demanding control, we stop suffering twice, once from the event itself, and again from resisting it. Think of Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, facing plague, war, and betrayal. Despite commanding legions, he could not command fate. Yet in his meditations he wrote with serenity, "Accept the things to which fate binds you." He could have raged against what he could not change, but instead he loved it. His empire was vast, but his greatest empire was mastery of himself. In today's world, we cannot control traffic, politics, disease, or chance, but we can control our response. Amor Fati invites you not just to accept the uncontrollable, but to embrace it with love. Delays become time to reflect. Illness becomes a teacher. Rejection becomes redirection. To love what you cannot control is to step into harmony with life itself. The fifth principle of Amor Fati is transformation through love of fate. It is not enough to accept life passively. Stoicism calls us to actively love every moment. This is the alchemy of the soul, turning suffering into wisdom, loss into gratitude, and endings into beginnings. To love fate is to say yes to everything, even what once broke you. In that yes, life is transformed from burden into gift. Nietzsche declared, "My formula for greatness in a human being is Amor Fati, that one wants nothing to be different, not forward, not backward, not in all eternity." This is radical acceptance, not as surrender, but as affirmation. To want nothing changed, not even your scars, is to stand in complete harmony with life. Such love of fate is not weakness, it is the highest strength. Consider Helen Keller, deaf and blind from childhood, yet she did not curse her fate. She embraced it as part of her destiny, transforming it into a source of strength. She wrote, "Although the world is full of suffering, it is full also of the overcoming of it." Her life reminds us, fate is not to be resented, but to be harnessed. By loving what seemed unbearable, she turned limitation into legacy. In our own lives, transformation begins when we stop asking life to be different and start loving it as it is. A broken relationship becomes a teacher in resilience. Failure becomes the soil of future success. Even grief, when loved, deepens our compassion. Amor Fati transforms us into alchemists of the soul, turning every event, good or bad, into gold. The sixth principle of Amor Fati is freedom through acceptance. When you stop resisting life, you are no longer chained to fear or anger. To love fate is to release yourself from the prison of what if and why me. The Stoics knew that true freedom is not political, not financial, but spiritual. It is the freedom to be unbroken, no matter what life takes away. Epictetus, once a slave, declared, "No man is free who is not master of himself." He could not control his chains, but he could control his mind. Amor Fati expands this lesson. Freedom is not found in escaping fate, but in embracing it so fully that nothing can enslave you again. The world can bind your body, but it cannot bind a spirit that loves its destiny. Think of Nelson Mandela, imprisoned for 27 years. Though behind bars, he remained free in spirit. He embraced his fate, using it to strengthen his resolve and deepen his wisdom. When released, he did not return with bitterness, but with vision. His freedom came not when the prison doors opened, but when he chose to love his fate, turning suffering into a foundation for peace. In our daily lives, chains appear as anxiety, social pressure, or fear of the unknown. Amor Fati teaches us to accept these conditions without letting them define us. A rejection letter, a failed dream, a sudden illness. None of these can imprison the mind that chooses to love fate. This acceptance unlocks a higher freedom, the ability to live fully, without fear, because nothing can truly enslave a soul that has said yes to destiny. The seventh principle of Amor Fati is to find joy in every moment. Stoicism is not only about endurance, it is about gratitude. To love your fate means to savor not just victories, but also defeats, not just sunshine, but also storms. Each breath, each setback, each fleeting second is part of the masterpiece that is your life. When you embrace Amor Fati, you stop postponing joy, you find it here, now, in everything. Seneca once wrote, "Begin at once to live, and count each separate day as a separate life." Amor Fati is not waiting for happiness. It is choosing to live fully today. The Stoics teach us that joy is not found in the absence of difficulty, but in the presence of meaning. Every day is a gift. To count each day as a life of its own is to live without regret, to step into eternity through the present. Think of Marcus Aurelius during the Antonine Plague. Surrounded by death, burdened by empire, he still wrote about gratitude for each day granted to him. He did not wait for peace to arrive. He found peace inside the chaos. His meditations remind us that joy is not postponed to the future. It is practiced in the present, even when fate appears cruel. This is Amor Fati lived in history, joy as an act of courage. In modern life, we chase happiness through success, wealth, or recognition, always in the future. Amor Fati invites us to find joy in the ordinary. The morning coffee, the sound of rain, the presence of a friend. Joy is not delayed until conditions are perfect. It is discovered in imperfection. When you love your fate, every moment, however small, becomes sacred. We have walked through the wisdom of Amor Fati. Acceptance as strength, finding meaning in hardship, turning obstacles into fuel, loving what we cannot control, transforming suffering into growth, discovering freedom through acceptance, and embracing joy in every moment. Together, these principles form not just a philosophy, but a way of life. Amor Fati is not theory, it is practice. It is how we transform life's storms into the winds that carry us forward. Remember this: fate is not your enemy. The trials, losses, and struggles you face are not punishments. They are invitations. Every hardship is shaping you into something greater. When you stop resisting and start embracing, you are no longer a victim of destiny. You become its partner. Amor Fati is not about survival. It is about thriving, about becoming unbreakable, untouchable, and deeply alive. Begin today. The next time fate surprises you, do not resist. Say yes. Love the challenge. Love the setback. Love even the pain, because each one is part of your becoming. Practice Amor Fati in small ways. A delayed bus, a missed opportunity, an unexpected change. The more you love your fate, the lighter life becomes. The question is not, will fate be kind, but will I love it anyway? Amor Fati is the art of living without fear, without resentment, and without regret. To love your destiny is to walk hand in hand with the universe itself. Carry this truth with you. What stands in the way becomes the way, and what you once resisted will become your greatest teacher. This is the Stoic miracle. This is the power of loving your fate. Subscribe to Stoic Miracles and keep walking the path of wisdom.